They've been threatening it and threatening it, but this time it's real. The end of net neutrality is happening soon. Ajit Pai, the FCC chairman, I was going to say chairperson, but why bother? Appointed by Trump, former Verizon lawyer, has announced that under the plume of Thanksgiving, that on December 14th, there will be a vote to repeal net neutrality. It is expected to go along party lines, 3-2, ending net neutrality. I'm not surprised at all, because I think we all saw this coming since April when he said, I want to take a weed whacker to net neutrality. I'm so funny.
Yeah.
Check out my big coffee cup.
Yeah, he's a strange, disarming childishness to him that is like, you don't want to give a child a weed whacker.
Well, you don't want to give a corporatist reins to controls that are meant to protect consumers. I mean, just the internet is a utility. It's very essential to working, to daily life, and to decategorize it as such is not right. I mean, the protections that the Obama administration put on were very simple. You can't have ISPs slow down or block certain websites, and people should be able to access everything equally without having certain slow lanes or what have you. And in Pai's, I don't think his mind, I think he knows what's going to happen, but he presents this reality in which we're supposed to trust corporations to do what's right for us and that they'll be perfectly transparent and work in the common good. But that doesn't work that way. ISPs have had no incentive to improve service or to get better or to be competitive in years. This is not going to help the situation for consumers. This is not going to protect consumers.
Right, there's plenty of things you can trust corporations to do, but it's not work in the best interest of the consumer. It's to work in the best interest of the corporation and their bottom line to make the most money they can. And it's going to be, if the internet is a resource, then they're going to create a scarcity of that resource so that you pay more for that resource. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to do it until they hit some kind of blockage. And it's not an essential, and the internet has become such an essential part of people's daily life that it's a less elastic product, elastic good, where like the higher price it is, the less the demand is. It's not like that, and it's going to get to a point where the internet the companies, the telecom companies, are going to work in this like dark area that we're not going to be able to see, and so it's not going to be as obvious to everybody how much they're getting screwed until
it's too late.
It's too late, and then what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a backlash, and then eventually, hopefully, some kind of repeal of this activity. But then what's going to happen is that profits of the telecoms are going to go down, and then people who are just battling for fairness are going to be blamed for it. That's the frustrating part, and that's if we get to repeal these things that he's.
It could be decades.
Yeah,
I mean, this could have ramifications for decades. And what bothers me about this is, I'm not sure if this is a fully corporatist movement, because this benefits no one unless you are a large telecom agency yourself, or if it's just mindless repealing anything Obama did, even if it's for the general public interest.
And that's a frustrating position to be in from the perspective of someone in the general population, is if you have to figure between like, is this a strategy or is this just spite? And you don't know. There's like weird mixed messages. There's backlash from the Justice Department against the AT&T Time Warner merger.
I mean, I don't know that should necessarily be a thing, but if it's just because some asshole doesn't like CNN, that's a stupid fucking reason.
But puts you in a very strange situation, and when you're trying to, not just the average consumer, but also economists and people who are planning financial futures are trying to figure out exactly what the hell's going on. This uncertainty is frustrating, and it's made even more frustrating when it's an uncertainty between like, are you enacting some kind of economic strategy or just being a dick?
I'm leaning towards economic strategy just based on what I've seen in other forms of privatization or corporatization of our federal government. Either way, does it matter? It's bad for us. And it's probably happening because of how partisan things are. Yeah,
what do you think about the AT&T Time Warner merger? I kind of like that they're not being merged.
I like that they're not being merged, but if that's the reason why, that's not right. There's other reasons why it's not right.
I was reading an article about the AT&T Time Warner merger, and it was like, these are not it's weird because these are not technically competitors, but that sounds like such an ancient version of communications where you think that a AT&T type company and a Time Warner company aren't competing. They are actually trying to unify, and when you couple that with this kind of an initiative, it's a recipe for disaster if both those things go through.
Yeah,
where you'll have like two companies that are able to do anything. You'll have the whatever the Comcast merger was and the AT&T company, and then they'll be in charge of everything. Every way we consume media.
The media is already heavily, it's overly monopolized as it is, and it doesn't seem like that situation is going to get better. I think overall, both of these are portents for a bad future for the average consumer of news or internet, which is also anyone.
And so, yeah, if you have giant companies acting independently of any kind of government regulation, you're going to have abuse, and it's going to be harder and harder to rein them in as time passes.
Yep, that's where we are now. This is expected to happen, as I said, again on December 14th, and I don't know if there's anything we can do to stop it. Shit's effed. Please leave your comments below and subscribe for more.